And now, here's your host, Chip Tatum.
Good evening, folks. My name is Chip Tatum. I'm your host for the Pegasus File. This show is airing Thanksgiving Eve, the evening before Thanksgiving 2017. We've got some things to talk about tonight. What's going to follow is the 10th interview I had with Ted Gunderson over a 2-week period back in 1997. So this is the interview number 10. It's going to be the last of the live show, or the last of the recorded shows that I'm going to play. You'll be able to find the rest of the shows on our YouTube channel, which have been converted to MP4 videos. And for you BTN radio subscribers, remember we were hacked. We were unable to bring the database across with all subscribers, so please sign up again, and we'll see to it that you're manually input as a subscriber. Thank you. You'll hear some interesting stuff in this interview from back in '97 with Ted. I'm sure you will. So let's just get right into it. Here we go.
To join in on the conversation with Ted, call 1-970-587-5171. Or in the Denver metropolitan area, it's 1-303-654-9924. And now, here's Ted.
And good day to all you beautiful people across this great land of ours, and to our friends in Canada and Mexico, Central South America, Africa, Europe, and Asia. Welcome to the Ted Gunderson Intelligence Report. My guest today is Gene Chip Tatum, again back, a 25-year CIA deep cover agent. And I don't know if we have Terry Reed on the phone still or not. Do we, Terry? I guess Terry cut up. We had Terry Reed on for the last hour. But before we get into the show, folks, let me remind you, this is the last day to file your complaints and to make your request for information and an extension of the comment period for the American Heritage River Initiative. The purpose, of course, of this initiative is to designate 10 chosen rivers by the fall of 1997. 10 more will be chosen later, and of course the government, according to information furnished to me, will have access to and control of the land on both sides of the river. This is a wolf in sheep's clothing as far as I'm concerned, and the word on this American Heritage River Initiative are vague and they need explanation. But regardless, there is a 2-week waiting period or comment period, and that 2 weeks is up on the 9th. They gave us 2 weeks. This initiative was announced about 2 weeks ago, and this is the last day to file your complaints, and you should be doing this. Request that the comment period be extended to 90 days instead of 2 weeks. Now write this down. You'll get your pen and paper. Okay? Request that the comment period be extended to 90 days. Request that the written material regarding the American Heritage River Initiative, request this material yourself so you can read it. Upon receiving it, read it, and then proceed. Exercise your rights as a citizen of the United States to express your voice in the affairs of this country. Now, here's what you have to do. Write your request for information and extension of the comment period to Executive Office of the President, Kathleen, K-A-T-H-L-E-E-N, McGinty, M-C-G-I-N-T-Y, Council on Environmental Quality, Washington, D.C., 20503. Phone, Karen Hobbs, H-O-B-B-S, 202-395-5750. Fax, Kathleen McGinty again, 202-456-2710. Call, write, fax, and email your state's congressmen and your senators and request them to seek an extension of the comment period for the Federal Registry notice. Press them for an interpretation and their position on the American Rivers Heritage Initiative. Keep calling, writing, faxing, and email till something is done to stop this initiative. It's just another candy-coated carrot of a land grab, folks, and don't you forget it. Okay, back to Chip. Chip, how are you the second hour?
Doing great, Ted. Thank you.
Okay, we had a pretty lively first hour. Terry Reed called in from Missouri. Thanks to his friend in Los Angeles who's listened to this show, who called Terry and had him call in to correct us on a situation. I think that was a correction for me, not you, Chip. I was just kidding when I said it's your fault. But we'll take it from there. We asked, I asked Chip about if he knew Terry Reed. I was going to ask him about some other people. And we were talking about drugs the first hour. Of course, in the northern hemisphere into B.C., British Columbia. And if Chip had knowledge of this, we talked about prison life. And Dee from Colorado called in, and we talked about Rusty Nelson, the photographer on the Nebraska Franklin cover-up case. And we were asking information about General McCaffrey. No one seems to know for sure about his position, but I know that he was a general in the Army in Central America back in the 80s, and he was later appointed as drug czar by the Clinton administration. That alone makes me suspicious of him. And let me ask you some other questions about this. How about this allegation that the CIA were bringing drugs into South Central L.A., and I'm sure you're familiar from reading the paper. Kathleen Waters, the Congress lady from there, was so insistent that they have hearings, and Senator Specter had these hearings that were a laugh. They were a joke. I watched them myself, watched the videotape of them. They did not ask probative questions. They did not have witnesses there who could have told all. Very controlled. And then Deutsch, head of the CIA at that time, came out to L.A. and had a conference with the folks, a little open house, a kind of discussion, and claimed that their investigation revealed that there was no CIA involvement in bringing drugs into South Central L.A. and distributing them among the in the ghetto area. Do you have any knowledge of that, Jeff?
I absolutely do. In the Tatum Chronicles, at an isolated airfield in southern Honduras, he had the 10th of April, I met a man exposed to me a plan that would take drugs into Ilopango, El Salvador. That's where he was going with the coolers that we were carrying that day. I believe on that particular day we had 6 coolers marked medical supplies. I asked him, where are these going? And he told me they're going to Ilopango, then they're going up into the States. On the back of the flight plan, we made notes of exactly what was going on. Barry Seal and I, that's the man that I met that day, and he said they were going into the United States, and this particular batch would be made into crack.
And did they say where in the United States?
I'll have to look at the back of the flight plan. It's been some time since I went in there. I believe he did say it was going to California, and that they were going to the United States, and they planned on getting, and the way it's written in here is all the niggers hooked on crack and throw them in jail.
Well, now, do you have that right there in front of you?
Turning to it right now.
Okay, let's read it. Now, this is April 10th of what year?
April 10th, 1985.
1985. This is on the back of your flight plan. And did you try to make this available to Arlen Specter, that great senator from Pennsylvania?
Yes, he does. He has a wonderful letter and everything from my wife, too.
Okay, I'll be right back, Chip. Hold your thought. Wake up, America, wake up.
(587-5171) or in the Denver metropolitan area, 1-303-654-9924. And now, back to Ted.
And we're back, and my guest is Gene Chip Tatum, 25-year CIA deep cover agent. Before we go to your log and your flight plan there, we have Marie from Colorado on the line. Hi, Marie.
Hi, good morning, gentlemen. Ted, I tried to call you before I hung up when you got Terry Reid on because I knew you'd want to talk to him for quite a while. And sorry I missed him. I read his book, excellent book. Everyone get it and read it. What I called about was the drug running in Montana. If my recent history, if I remember correctly, wasn't that one thing that they were trying to bring out was the drug running in Montana? And I think they said the local sheriff, the local police, city officials, all the way up into and including the governor were involved in it.
That's the allegation.
I think, did I remember right?
Yes, you remembered right.
Okay, Chip, have you investigated that?
I was in a meeting in the early 90s with an senior FBI agent named Terry Nelson, and Terry told me exactly how they did it back then, and I did write a letter to the Senate and let them know in Montana.
The state Senate?
State Senate, that's correct.
Okay, that's one thing I think we need to remember is to keep pushing that the Freemen were trying to bring this out, and they were shut up, and I don't think we'll probably ever hear from them again. I think
well, you know what's interesting, Maria, is two of the Freemen that I'm aware of were acquitted from their crimes.
But they're still in jail, aren't they?
I don't know.
No,
I know
think
two of them have gone to trial and were found not guilty so far.
There were some who are not guilty, but there's still some that are still involved in the system.
I think the leaders are still in jail.
I think they are, too.
Yeah, okay. Well, thanks, Ted.
Yeah, thank you, Marie.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, back to you, Chip. What about these logs, these flight logs, about crack coming in the ghetto area?
On the 9th of April, we delivered 4 coolers into San Lorenzo Airport in southern Honduras, and left those. They were taken to Ilopango. Excuse me. The following day, on the 10th of April, myself, my co-pilot Brantner, my crew chief Chebin, and my medic Watkins flew into several locations. Let me see, which included San Lorenzo. When we landed at San Lorenzo with these 6 coolers on board our aircraft, this is what happened. Delivered 6 coolers of cocaine to San Lorenzo. Met Barry Seal on C-123. Ramon Navarro was with Seal. Asked Seal what was up with the cocaine being made in Contra camps. Said it was a CIA operation. The shipment was going to California to make a drug called crack. Seal said that the CIA planned to get all the niggers in the U.S. hooked on it and then throw them in prison. Said the dollars for the crack goes to buy weapons for the Contras. Asked him who was involved. He said it goes all the way to the White House. Said I could talk to the boss. He'd be here in Honduras in a couple of days. Took notes on the back of AA, which is an aeromedical ambulance action report. Mission request for Regional Military Training Center will include with this flight plan mission request dated 6 April. That's all. Let me see. Missions getting out of hand. Major Hescox is getting suspicious of the flight. Sent Willett to make sure we really went to San Lorenzo. Said that he would let North know about the heat from Hescox.
Okay, what'd you do with those reports? You furnished them to Maxine Waters?
Furnished them to Maxine Waters, furnished them along with a letter from my wife to Arlen Specter. And I think it's interesting the way my wife worded it. She let him know. I mean, she held nothing back. She said, "Look at this. Here it is, and here are more flight plans that are the proof that you say you're lacking. I hope you do something with it, but I suspect that you're part of the problem."
Well, he is, obviously.
Sure he is. You know, and when you talk about the hearing that they had, Eden Pastora was there. When Maxine Waters questioned Eden Pastora, she asked him if his son-in-law was the head of the Air Force for the Contras, and Pastora said no. Pastora answered the question. Forces for the Contras. Pastora was head of the Air Forces for Pastora's Contras.
Right.
And he turned and finally answered it that way when she probed deeper and asked the question differently. So a lot of the answers that were gotten were answers that they could get away with because the questions were
not
evading
correct,
the questions.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. What did Maxine Waters have to say about these letters and flight plans?
Her investigator Joseph Lee has gotten in touch with my attorney, and they're talking. I don't know where it's gone from there. I did receive a letter from a man named Kevin Warren, who is with the Crack the Cocaine Coalition out of California, who is fighting this. And he basically said, in the Sentinel magazine, there was a letter to the editor that was posted that basically says that if Maxine finds that she has to go forward with this, her life may be in danger.
And what did Maxine say when she responded? Anything other than senator investigator to you?
No, that's it.
Did she do anything? Did she give you anything in writing?
We have a letter from her now, yeah.
And what did she say?
Just that they're looking into it.
Okay, kind of the typical. But I think she might look into it because
I think that she really has a cause. I think she really has someone behind her. But I also know who she's going up against, and I know what kind of obstacles there can be there.
Be right back, Chip. Time for a quick break. Wake up, America! Wake up!
Here's Ted.
And we are back, and my guest today is Gene Chip Tatum, 25-year CIA deep cover agent. And we have Chuck Myers on the line. Chuck is in Denver at the Oklahoma City trial. Chuck, how are you today?
Good, Ted. How are you?
Good. Give us a report on what's going on there.
Excellent. We're in recess right now. Judge Mage has recessed until 1 o'clock this afternoon, whereupon the defense will begin its arguments arguing against the death penalty for Timothy McVeigh. Anyway, while I was driving in to the sentencing hearing this morning, I heard a comment on KOA radio made by a lady named Carol Ward of Colorado Springs. I've had the pleasure of meeting her, Ted. I don't know if you have. She recently received a $350,000 judgment against the IRS for abuses they heaped upon her, alleging she was involved in some drug operation. If you ever met her, you would know how ludicrous that was. Anyway, it was found to be ridiculous. She went after them successfully and got a huge judgment. She said on the radio that the bombing of the Muir building was a direct result of the incredible corruption that permeates every agency at all levels. And I think her observation pinpoints what a growing number of Americans are thinking. The use of a bomb by quasi-government types in an effort to ram the anti-terrorist legislation through Congress has backlash. I think more and more people are beginning to take a closer look at this cancerous growth called big government, and they're not liking what they see. As far as the sentencing hearing yesterday, to kind of recap, the government had a lady on who was the wife of a BATF and later a Secret Service agent who died in the building, and she recounted what a fine family member he was. She didn't tell us how many Americans her husband had harassed, coerced, and intimidated, and perhaps even killed in his lengthy career, and no one really dared ask that. Also, something that I think you might find interesting that happened this morning, an Oklahoma City medical examiner, one that was responsible for finding and counting the bodies at the blast site, said, and these are pretty much his words, they were expecting that there would be bodies which had been atomized or vaporized by the explosion. But that was not the case. There were many dismembered body parts, but no evidence of vaporization, which, of course, I'm not an explosive expert, but it would seem to lend credence to your theory of a conventional bomb rather than a tactical nuclear device, as some have theorized. I think the consensus at this point, and I see no reason to challenge it, is that Timothy McVeigh will be sentenced to death.
Chuck, vaporization, that is fascinating because I had informant information from an investigator at the scene right after the bombing that McVeigh was supposed to have been, quote, vaporized, end quote. And now we have a medical examiner coming in and say they expected people to be vaporized. That would indicate that some form of this electrohydrodynamic gaseous fuel device was used, otherwise known as the barometric bomb.
Well, it's, judging from what I've heard of how a nuclear device works, that there would be some form of atomization or vaporization of bodies, and this wasn't the case. So that would seem to toss out as a potential theory the idea of a tactical nuclear device for sure. And certainly the barometric bomb that you're saying caused the blast, certainly I would have no reason to want to refute that whatsoever.
Well, my point being that they expected somebody to be vaporized, and this bomb would have vaporized people, and McVeigh was supposed to have been vaporized.
Is that right?
Yes, that's the word that I have. Now, I think that it was a combination of a conventional bomb with ammonium nitrate and the electrohydrodynamic gaseous fuel device. There were two bombs also on the inside of the building that were discovered right after the initial interesting. So, do you have to have those military bombs in storage or what? No, I don't know.
Well, that's interesting. As we pointed out earlier, there was testimony from a fireman in the building that said that allegedly the bomb scare was caused by some paperweight that was had ended up in a stairwell off the desk of a BATF agent that people thought it was a bomb. But frankly, I think that's a little bit ridiculous. And certainly, if there was a bomb scare, I think it would have had to have been based upon more substantial evidence than a mere paperweight in a stairwell.
Chuck, I have news clippings from the early reports of the bombing, and these news clippings say that there was a second and a third bomb that were found among the debris.
I'll be doggone.
Yeah, I've got that, and I'll pass that on to you. Okay, time for a quick break. Back right in just a few minutes, folks. Wake up, America. Wake up.
A UPI news update. The penalty phase of Timothy McVeigh's trial is in its third day, and prosecutors are done calling witnesses who have been presenting emotional accounts of what McVeigh's crime has done to them. The defense will open its case this afternoon. They're expected to call McVeigh's family and friends. No word yet on whether McVeigh himself will take the stand. A chlorine leak at a factory north of downtown Dallas has caused the evacuation of some 250 people, hospitalized at least 13 with breathing problems, and caused another 11 to be treated at the scene. A 10-alarm fire is burning in a box manufacturing building in the Boston suburb of Chelsea. Area residents have been evacuated and several firefighters have been injured. The cause is unknown. President and Mrs. Clinton are attending daughter Chelsea's high school graduation in Washington today. The president has delivered the commencement address. Clinton told the graduates they should work to promote diversity in American society. From the UPI News Center in Washington, I'm Bobby Murphy.
The Bottom Line Report is brought to you in part by KHNC 1360. Now here's Mark Opple.
Well, thank you very much. Welcome to our Bottom Line Report. Look for the grain trade a bit higher by the close on Monday. Bill Habertape says this soybean trade especially and overall a bit too far, too fast this week.
Still interested to see if Thursday, if in fact Thursday was a reversal day on soybeans. We dipped down, visited some levels we had not been to for quite some time, and then reversed and came back in pretty good fashion. Had a strong finish. See how we finish up Friday. If later this afternoon, if it's an okay market, then maybe we can get some follow-through into next week. I just think trying to pressure the markets earlier this week, we maybe got a little bit carried away on the downside this early in the season.
Bill Habertape, bottom line, at the close on Monday, corn up 1 to 2 is our call, soybeans up 2 to 3, wheat up 1 to 3. Still lots of rain in already saturated areas of that eastern corn belt this weekend. A look at the livestock trade in a moment. Welcome back to our program. Dave Maher looking at cattle and hog trade, steady to a bit weaker early.
It feels to us that this market's got a little bit more room to work lower in here. We look for the numbers to continue higher. Water ought to be hanging around 750 or better. So I think that we probably won't see much of a trade until about late Wednesday or Thursday. Hog market, I'm going to stick my neck out and be a little bit better. I think the anticipation of getting a little bit of Japanese business.
But steady to weaker on Monday, but still interior hogs, a wide range, 55.5 to 58.5. I'm Mark Oppold, wishing you a profitable day Monday.
To Free America with host Richard Palmquist can be heard on KHNC 1360 from 10 to noon every Saturday.
And we are back. And my guest today is Chip Tatum. And we are back. And my guest today is Chip Tatum, 25-year CIA Jeep cover agent. Are we on the air?
Yeah, you're fine. It's just that your caller's telephone has got an echo in it.
Oh, okay. Chuck, are you there from Oklahoma City? Chuck calling in from Oklahoma City.
No, this is Rusty.
Oh, Rusty. Hi, Rusty.
Hello, Ted. How are you doing?
Fine. How you doing?
Okay.
What can we do for you today?
I'd like to ask your guest a question. About 2 weeks ago, a young 18-year-old rancher was gunned down in Presidio County. His name was Zeke Hernandez. Have you heard about... He was murdered by 4 Marines. Painted faces, burlap sacks over their... Do you know anything about the drug corridor in Presidio County, Texas?
Skip, are you there?
I'm here. Can you tell me what towns are close to the Presidio corridor?
Presidio, Marfa, Texas. You know where that's at?
No, I don't.
It's south of Fort Davis a little bit, just beside Alpine, Texas.
I'm aware of a corridor that goes all the way, as far as flights and dropping. It's all over the place. There's a lot of flights. We tracked 18 tons of cocaine into Juarez in one night's flight from different Colombian cartels. It was one of the most massive efforts for complete overflights of Central America. It was dropped into Juarez, and then from Juarez it was taken up into the United States, and some, from what I understand, up into the Marathon, Texas area, and dispersed from there.
This is about 100, probably 140 miles east of El Paso and Juarez. But it's interesting, in the paper it said that these 4 Marines were members of Joint Task Force 6. What do you know about Joint Task Force 6?
I know that we have Joint Task Force working the border now. They were provided into the area to intervene. and that's their orders.
They have certainly intervened on this young man's life. This is the second shooting in the last 2 or 3 months. There was another rancher shot at near Laredo. He did not die, however, was shot by what was termed as Special Forces units. And I just wondered if you knew anything inside about these incidents. And sure do appreciate your show, Ted.
Yeah, you're welcome, Rusty, and call back. Let me ask you a few more questions about that, Chip.
Okay.
Chip, would they have these joint task force on the border? Would they be involved in the drug operation?
No, they could be. Military people are used as mules all the time as they travel around the world. There has been a big scandal in the past of Navy personnel and so forth being used as mules. The problem with using military on our border in the anti-drug intervention program is the fact that military special forces and these joint task force people are offensive soldiers. They're not defensive soldiers. They're not there to stand and say halt. They're there to fire. That's what they're taught. They're offensive weapons for the United States of America. If they want to defend that border and keep people out, send someone like a low-key National Guard group in there. They know that if they put these people in there, that people are going to get shot. They know that.
Well, their mission is seek and destroy, not seek and control.
That's right.
And so it's very possible this could have been a drug operation, in other words. We don't know, of course, at this point. 18 tons of cocaine into Juarez.
18 tons in one night. The effort was enormous. We monitored it over HF radios as they flew from Colombia all the way. They flew up over Panama through, let me see, it was through Costa.
Well, that was the one through Mexico you talked about earlier.
Through
one of the earlier shows.
18 tons in one night.
And the CIA was aware of that, and they let it go on through, right?
Didn't do a thing about it. Let it go right on up and come into the United States, every bit of it.
And what planes were used? What agencies, do you know?
They were cartel planes.
Cartel planes?
Sure. The fact that we knew about it and didn't do anything about it is something that should red flag things.
Yes, of course it should. What about anything more on South Central LA and crack cocaine into the ghetto area, et cetera, et cetera?
That's the only information I have is that, and I know that Mr. Castillo, Sully Castillo, talked about drugs coming out of Ilopango when he was down there in 2 of the hangars that were used. So, that pretty well tied right in with what Barry had told me April 10th of 1985. And what's interesting is, these documents were produced on April 10th. This document was produced on April 10th, and it's been with the Honduran government and maintains with a high official in the Honduran government, the original copy. So, it's just another fact. Just another...
Ted, did you get Chuck from Colorado?
No, I thought Chuck dropped off. So is Chuck on now?
Yeah, well,
hi, Chuck.
It's a different Chuck.
Oh, it's a different Chuck. Hi, Chuck.
It's the Chuck from Fort Collins.
Yeah, hi, Chuck. How are you?
Oh, not too bad. Yes, Ted and Chip, I was wondering, that Charles Keating that was involved in the Keating 5, the Lincoln Brigade, that was the 5 senators, and the S&L deal in Colorado here.
Right.
Okay, there came to my attention last night, there's a Frank Keating, who is the governor of Oklahoma, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, and
he's an ex-FBI agent, by the way.
And he seems to have quite a record besides that.
Well, he's being promoted by the famous George Bush. And he was also a top official in, I'm not sure if it's the Defense Department or not, but one of the agencies.
Yeah, right. I was just wondering if that was connected to the same family, and it might have something to do with that Oklahoma City bombing, too. Your last caller.
I don't know if that's the case or not. You, Jeff?
I don't, but I would tell America to watch Mr. Keating's rise in politics over this.
Right. Oh, yes. Well, he's on a fast track, I'll guarantee you that, just watching him.
And another thing, that last caller that you had in there.
Right.
I've got an article right here in front of me by Karen Lee Dixman. It's in the Oregon Observer, March 1997, on page 8. They've got a border, what they call 21 program.
Right.
Set up between Mexico and America. It's 100 miles south of the border and 100 miles north of the border, which covers 200 miles. And they've got a special thing in there. It's all about, it's got connected with the Environment Project. It's connected with the United Nations. It's connected with water resources like the river deal and all this kind of stuff. And I've got it here. If I had an address to send it to, I could send you a copy of it.
Well, appreciate it very much. P.O. Box 18,000.
Okay. Just a second. Pen out here. Okay. P.O. Box.
Well, we'll come right back in just a few minutes, folks. Time for a quick break. Wake up, America. Be right back.
Okay.
And we are back, and my guest today is Gene Chip Tatum, 25-year CIA cover agent. And Chuck, you're on the line?
Yeah.
Okay, Chuck. My address is Post Office Box 18,000, 18000-259,
259.
Las Vegas, Nevada.
Okay.
89114.
89114.
Right. And my phone number is 702
702
650
650
5676.
5676.
And any of you folks that are interested in obtaining some good research material, call that number and ask for a copy of my flyer. And also, I still need money to get this letter out to the ex-FBI agents. You've been listening to the show where I'm trying to write to all the ex-FBI agents, Chuck?
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I need $4,000, folks, and I'm up to over 1,700 right now. We're going to send our first group of letters out. We're going to do it in sections, of course, because we can't afford to do them all at once in the next couple of weeks. So send your donation to that Ted Gunderson P.O. Box 18,000-259, Las Vegas, Nevada 89114. Lower left-hand corner of your check, put FBI project. Do you have any other comments, Gus?
Just one thing. Very good show, gentlemen.
Thanks, Gus.
We'll talk to you later.
Okay, and get your address and World Wide Web and email and so forth, but we have two more callers. Let's take care of them first. Ralph, are you on the line?
I dropped Ralph. Why don't you pick up John and have Ralph call back?
Okay, Ralph, call back. We'll take you as soon as we can. And John, where are you from?
Hi.
John, where are you from?
I'm from Colorado.
From Colorado? Okay, you have a question?
Yeah, Chip, I was wondering what you did in Gunnison, Colorado with Bo Calloway.
Callaway's own Crested Butte, and I worked at the Crested Butte area.
Did you do any undercover work there, or what?
No, I had retired from that, like I have now. I just worked at the ski area for a short time. Actually, a very short time, because we opened up our own little place in Gunnison.
How long were you there?
Less than a year before I was reactivated and sent back to special operations.
Okay, and then I was wondering on scopolamine. Is there a way to find out if somebody is on that? Will a blood test show it, or?
Yeah, blood test will show it. Scopolamine can be had, from what I understand, I know that it can, from veterinary supply stores that's used with horses to calm them down while, you're trying to transport them. There are blood tests that'll show scopolamine.
Have you gentlemen noticed, I'm the one that thinks that McVeigh is on such a drug, because he isn't even speaking out in his defense at all. And if he knows he's going to get the death sentence, wouldn't he want to say something if he's motivated by some philosophy that he that he has some vendetta against the ATF or something?
I would think so. You know who Jolly West is?
No.
Dr. Jolly West, head of the psychiatric department at UCLA in Los Angeles, and he is the foremost expert on mind control and debriefing, cults, etc. And he has been recognized as having been involved with the CIA. He was the person that did the LSD experiments on the elephant, and the elephant died back in the, I think, 60s or 70s. But Jolly West has been a frequent visitor to in jail, at least within the last. And I suspect he's involved in the MK Ultra CIA mind control project. Yes, I agree with you on that one.
Okay, one more thing, Chip. Your lawyer, or not your lawyer, but the judge that's in charge of your case has all of your material. Could you give that judge's name again? And also, do you think you could get involved with we could start an act?
In this judge, I'd like to get my appeal through.
Yeah, can we hold off on that one, John?
Well, I just wonder what Mike Brown says is that you got to make these judges really squirm, put the pressure on them, expose them to the light of what they're really trying to do.
Let me tell you something. You and I can't put any more pressure on that judge than he got from elsewhere. I guarantee that.
Okay,
we'll hold off on that one, John. The left field goes.
Comment on Montana tomorrow. Can you talk about that? If someone gets you on the air tomorrow, can you talk about the Montana expose of running drugs into Montana?
We did that on an earlier show. We can review it again. The Chip will be on again this coming Wednesday.
No, but you're filing suit up there or something, isn't it?
Me?
Chip? Yeah, Chip.
No, I'm not filing suit. I simply filed a letter with the state of Montana letting them know what I was aware of and what I have testimony to provide in, and also have the pilot who flew the missions for Nelson.
But that'll become public as of tomorrow or something? Didn't you mention that? Or
you're talking about the information on the classified report from a foreign intelligence officer that I'm going to make available tomorrow.
Okay,
that's concerning Oklahoma City.
Well, I wish we could get that on the air tomorrow. Anyway, thanks a lot. Bye.
Okay, and we're back. Chip, let's see. Well, hello. We have somebody else on
Ted,
the line.
Ralph is back.
Ralph. Hi, Ralph.
Hi, Ted. Thank you very much for taking my call. You're doing a great job there.
Thanks.
I got a question for Chip. Chip, are you there?
I'm here, Ralph.
Do you have any first-hand knowledge of the events surrounding the Bay of Pigs debacle?
No, I was a child then.
Yeah, I think both of us were. I was just wondering if possibly you had any connections or wondering. Can I ask you to speculate on a situation, though? It's my understanding that the reason it failed was that President Kennedy found out at the last minute that the nuclear warheads were not all removed from the island, and when he discovered that, he obviously had to withdraw the air support, and that's why the invasion failed. Apparently the Russians had shipped dummies onto the island along with real warheads, and then removed the dummies and allowed us to take high-altitude pictures, and then Kennedy came out looking like a hero. So, of course, I don't trust the Soviets, and particularly back then during the height of the Cold War. It sounds entirely plausible to me. I was wondering if you'd speculate on that.
I can comment on the CIA side with their Air Force.
Would you please? I'll hang up and I'll listen.
All right.
Thank you very much.
Be right back, folks. Ted Gunderson Intelligence Report. Wake up, America. Wake up.
Ted and I is...
Oh, here's Ted.
Chip Tatum, 25 years CIA coverage. Chip, before we get into the CIA and the Air Force, give out your address and information as to where people can obtain documentation concerning your comments.
Documentation, folks, is available at 1-800-201-7892, extension 58. 1-800-201-7892, extension 58. Our website is http://members.aol.com/Chip-Tatum. I'll say that again, http://members.aol.com/Chip-Tatum.
Okay, and Chip will be on the show this coming Wednesday, back, and that'll be the second series of interviews with Chip on the Ted Gunderson Intelligence Report. The first audio copies of the first 6 shows are available by sending $49.95. But for the address and information and details, call 800-205-6245. The first 6 are available audio, and the transcript of the first 6 shows will be $29.95. A second second series, I should say, are also at $49.95. This is a value of more than $100 for half price, basically. You want to get a whole series, first series and second series, and we will have a third series, believe it or not, because, Chip, I'm having a terrible time getting through my checklist. There's just too much information here. Now, also, for you folks in the Orlando area, the Preparedness Expo 97, June the 13th, 14th, and 15th, will be at the Central Florida Fairgrounds in Orlando, Florida, and the festivities begin Friday afternoon, I believe. There will be a roundtable discussion on the Oklahoma City bombing, and Chip and I will appear as guests and lecturers at, I think it's 11 o'clock Saturday morning. And so, hope some of you folks in that area will get to the show and come around and meet us. Chip, just get back to the CIA and their Air Force.
The Air Force that supported that, the CIA Air Force, was so heavily laden with fuel that they could only use a quarter of the bomb load that they needed to support that operation. The reason for that is, although they may have taken off around somewhere in southern Florida, they weren't allowed to return to that area to refuel or to rearm themselves. They had to fly all the way down to Nicaragua, and that's where it based out of. The refueling, the uploading of new bombs, and flight out again was then from Nicaragua into Cuba. And it's the time it took to fly the missions, the fuel.
Right. I'd like to make.
Well, I think that what's important to know today about Cuba is as early as 1989, we've had Cuban commando teams come into the beachhead at Turkey Point, leave a message and leave. So, and they did that without us knowing it. That's why we don't mess with Castro.
And
Turkey Point is a nuclear plant in southern Florida. There's another nuclear plant up the coast of southern Florida that we've also had commando teams into. That's Port St. Lucie, Florida. One thing people may not know is all of the backup system knobs in Port St. Lucie at the nuclear plant were glued closed a few years back. And that was probably a work of sabotage.
Well, now, are you talking about the Cuban commando group that came in there, or sabotage?
No, that was direct sabotage. It had nothing to do with the Cuban commando.
Okay, thanks a lot, Chip. Thanks for appearing on the show. We'll see you this coming Wednesday. Ted Gunderson Intelligence Report. Tune in Monday, folks.
You've been listening to the Ted Gunderson Intelligence Report with former FBI Chief Ted L. Gunderson. Our address is the Ted Gunderson Intelligence Report, P.O. Box 18,000-259, Las Vegas, Nevada, zip 89114.
You can now listen to the American Freedom Network.
To join in on the conversation with Ted, call 1-970-587-5171. Or in the Denver metropolitan area, it's 1-303-654-9924. And now, here's Ted.
And good morning to all you beautiful people across this great land of ours, from the Canadian border down to Mexico, Atlantic to the Pacific. Welcome to the Ted Gunderson Intelligence Report. All right, this is the last day you have to write to the Executive Office of the President in regard to the American Heritage River Initiative. You recall, I've been making an issue out of this all week, every hour on the hour. I said I would do that up until June the 9th. June the 9th, the deadline. for filing your complaints, or maybe I should say comments, complaints as far as I'm concerned. And this initiative basically was by Billy Clinton, to designate 10 chosen rivers by the fall of 1997. 10 more will be chosen the following year, and so on and so forth. They will control the property on both sides of the river. All rivers in America would be potential candidates to become designated American heritage rivers. More disguise, folks. And all the cities around the country will be invited to submit applications to the federal government to be considered for this initiative. The word designate is vague and needs explanation. It's in the writing by these politicians. And the 10 chosen rivers will be entitled to receive federal funding to clean up the chosen rivers, and any one person could request an application to save their river, and with minimal support can have their river considered and possibly chosen as a designated American heritage river. Oh my, how they hide behind these fancy words. We need to immediately request an extension of the comment period. Now, the comment period is going to be up Monday. They gave us 2 weeks to comment about it for the proposed rule in the Federal Registry. Comment period was set, as I said, for 2 weeks, ending June the 9th, this Monday. This is not a done deal as of June 9th, but the beginning. Get involved now. The initiative is vague, complicated, and controversial. Request an extension because you need time to receive the information, study the information, and respond to the information. Now, here's what you have to do. You have to write to get your pen and paper out. Executive Office of the President, Kathleen McGinty, Council on Environmental Quality, Washington, D.C., 20503. That's where you write. I'm going to tell you what to write in just a minute. You have to phone 202-395-5750. Karen Hobbs, Hobbs, will take your request. And you have to fax 202-456-2710. Attention, Kathleen, Kathleen, McGinty, McGinty. And then after that, you call, write back, and email your state congressmen and senators and request them to seek an extension of the comment period for the Federal Register notice. Press them for their interpretation and position of the American Rivers Heritage Initiative. Keep calling, writing, faxing, and email until something is done to stop this initiative. It's just another candy-coated carrot in a land grab, folks, and don't you believe anything else. Now, here's what you do. Request that the comment period be extended to 90 days. Got that? Request written material regarding this camouflage initiative, American Heritage River Initiative. Upon receiving the material, read it. And then, number 4, proceed. Exercise your rights as a citizen of the United States of America to express your voice in the affairs of this country, or forever keep your mouth shut in your complaints about what the government is doing. Do not agree or consent quietly or without protest or without knowing what is happening in America today. Okay, I'm leaving it up to you. This is the last day we can do this, folks. Please act now. They're trying to take over all of our rivers. They already have control of the highways. H.R. 3610 allows them to set up roadblocks anytime they want to, any place they want to. What's down the road? I don't know. It's all awfully frightening. Okay, back again today. Of course, our special friend, because I feel like he's part of this radio show, he's been on here for so long, is Chip Tatum. Chip Tatum, a 25-year CIA deep cover agent, U.S. Army pilot flying classified missions during the U.S. invasion of Grenada. We discussed Grenada yesterday. Iran-Contra pilot flying cocaine shipments labeled as medical supplies. member of the ultra-secret international G7 run Pegasus hit team, from sensitive, highly secretive Special Forces covert operations in Cambodia, wandering CIA assets through to Black Ops activities in Grenada and Ollie North Iran-Contra enterprise, as well as membership in an international hit team. Team Chip Tatum has seen it all, done it all, and is now telling it all. My hero, Chip Tatum. Hi, Chip.
Hey, Ted. Good to be with you.
Oh, it's great to have you on the show. This is so exciting. Looking forward to having you come on the show. You have a wealth of information, and you know, as I said earlier, now, folks, we have done a series of 6 shows already, and those shows are available for $49.95. The audio copies by calling 1-800-205-6245. Transcript of those 6 shows will be available for $29.95. Please order the audio and the transcript. Get the word out to the American people. Make copies. We're not in this to make money. We don't worry about copyright. Make copies. Get them out to your friends. The word is education, education, education. Okay? Now, this is the second series of 6 interviews with Chip. The second series will be also $49.95 with a $29.95 transcript. So when you call 800-205-6245, be sure to say whether you want the first series or the second series, but better yet, order both series. Okay, folks, going into a break. Be right back. Wake up, America. Wake up.
The Tatum Chronicles. It's a compilation of all of the flights I made in Honduras and Central America during what was called the Iran-Contra conflict. Now, we were flying for the CIA and by the direction of Ollie North, drugs. We were delivering those to Barry Seal and other pilots who in turn were passing those drugs to various parts of the world. All documented. It's amazing what you will find in the Tatum Chronicles. Available now. Just go to VTN Radio, click on the bookstore, and you'll find it. That's VTNradio.com. VTNradio.com. Click on the bookstore, and you'll find the Tatum Chronicles. There also, you will find Operation Red Rock. That is a false flag operation provided by the United States military and the CIA in Cambodia. Again, VTNradio.com. Click on the bookstore. You'll find both books right there. Thank you. Now, let's get back to the show.
To join in on the conversation with Ted, call 1-970-587-5171. Or in the Denver metropolitan area, 1-303-654-9924. And now, back to Ted.
And we are back, and my guest today is Gene Chip Tatum, 25-year CIA deep cover agent. Chip, as I mentioned yesterday on the show, at a call, and I want to make this very clear to the audience. At a call, how do I know this guy is for real? Chip, give them your phone number and your website, and they can write, call, order your book, and see for themselves how real you are. Go ahead.
You bet, Ted. Our order line for the Tatum Chronicles is 1-800-201-7892. 800-201-7892, extension 58. Our website is http:// members.aol.com. Another slash, Chip Tatum, ChipTatum. I'm preparing other documents to go on the web for the website for those of you who'd like to draw those documents off. They pretty well show who I am, and I'm a matter of public record anyhow with the federal court system. So.
Right. Okay, that's 800-279.
800-201-7892.
I didn't get it down. 201 what?
7892, Ted.
7892. I got it now. Okay, good. I like to have it in my notes here, so if we come back to it, we can refer to it real quickly.
And anyone that's out there that needs anything other than that, the Nexus article, Nexus is available at 800-784-0745. I had to provide copies to their legal department for them to verify before they could go forward with the article. So.
And folks, I highly recommend that you subscribe to Nexus. That's the one. Well, there's a few others in the United States, but I've never seen exposés like the Nexus put out. I've seen them periodically. I don't subscribe to it. I'm going to order it myself. 784-0745. Chip, I've heard. I'm not international in scope in my work, but it's been primarily it's all been domestic. But we do pick up information now and then. And by the way, I worked counter-espionage in New York City back in the 50s. So, and I have an intelligence background. I was also in charge of the intelligence operations for the state of Connecticut for 5 years back in the 50s. We developed like 5 double agents, by the way, in 1 year. Not in 1 year, but 5 double agents in the 5 years that I was there, which is, pretty phenomenal statistic. As you know, developing 1 double agent a year in the United States is a pretty good accomplishment. But be that as it may, I picked up some information that they were running Unicol, or one of the oil companies was running a pipeline from Burma down into an oil line down into the coast, and then British Petroleum would run it on over to Hong Kong from there and into Vancouver, British Columbia, and that there were occasions when they were running, dropping drugs through this pipeline. Have you ever heard anything like that?
Very easy to do, Ted. They can do it encapsulated, or they can do it actually in the product itself. They can suspend the drugs in the product and chemically extract them at the other end.
You have heard of that, then?
Oh yeah, that's very popular. Amongst some of the ways that they traffic and transport drugs.
Yeah, now I don't want to indicate that the Unicol people or that the British Petroleum were involved in it, but this is what I heard. It was their pipeline, and I would have to be very cautious right now to say that they were involved in this. There could have been rogue people employed by them or rogue people who had access to these pipelines, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, so don't anybody think that I'm accusing Unicol or British Petroleum of running drugs down from Burma into Hong Kong and then on into Vancouver, BC. Now,
but it's very possible that their systems were being used without their knowledge.
Without their knowledge, right. Now, have you ever heard of the drugs being brought into the Northern Hemisphere through Vancouver, BC?
Through Vancouver, through Nova Scotia, and down into the northern portion of the states, into Montana, North Dakota. That's what I'm trying to think of, a place I really don't want to go. Well, it's too cold up there. I always stayed away from Minot in my military assignments.
Well, I'll tell you what, there's some wonderful people up there in North Dakota, but it is mighty cold. And having been raised in the Midwest, I was raised in Iowa, Missouri, Nebraska, Colorado, and Colorado isn't as bad, but that northern wind across the plains of Iowa and Nebraska is cold enough. And if you go 300 or 400 or 500 miles north of there, it's colder, I'm sure.
Oh, you bet.
But there's some wonderful people in that part of the country. Of course, they're all over the country. But we talked about the drugs coming up from through the FBI agent Nelson, from Miami on up into Newfoundland, and then across the border down into Montana. But what about British Columbia, Vancouver, British Columbia? Do you have any knowledge of that, personal knowledge?
Well, no, I don't think so. Not that particular area. Saskatchewan in Weyburn is where the actual drugs actually came down from. And I'm not sure where the Vancouver area is in Canada. I don't think it's along the southern front. I think it's north of there, isn't it?
Vancouver's, BC is west.
Yeah.
North of Seattle.
Okay, British Columbia.
Right.
Yeah. Because Vancouver's right up on the border.
Hold your thoughts, Chip. We'll be right back, folks. Ted Gunderson Intelligence Report. Wake up, America. Wake up. And we're back. My guest today is Chip Tatum, 25-year CIA deep cover agent. Chip, you were talking about drugs coming into Canada. We were talking about BC, British Columbia, over north of Seattle.
That's for the methods that were used by Nelson on the eastern side. Going the western route is a much longer flight and would require different type of aircraft than were used on the different equipped. They had to have more long range tanks and so forth. I'm not saying it's not done. I know that it is. I've heard that it is done. And there's some islands off of, I think, Washington State or Oregon that have been known to be a drop point where aircraft would actually fly over and drop their drugs.
Well, I heard that about Catalina, too. Have you heard that about Catalina?
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah. And any of the islands are fair game when an aircraft can get into them to drop.
Uh-huh. And particularly where they're uninhabited, perfect for a drop, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Or night flights, unless someone has a night scope on you, and the packages are small anyhow, they're probably not going to see them. Low-level drop is done pretty easily. I know Puerto Rico was a prime area for us. I have a good friend who was an intelligence officer and was working out of Puerto Rico as one of the head intelligence men with the Coast Guard. And he kept finding problems there, and his Coast Guard commander just kept telling him, oh, you're crazy. Puerto Rico isn't used, but Puerto Rico was used, and it was used because there was no customs between Puerto Rico and the U.S. And once it got into Puerto Rico, it was, for all effective purposes, in the U.S. And since then, that same Coast Guard commander has been indicted and is now in prison in Miami.
Well, that's interesting. He must not have been of any further use to the boys, then. Is that what you're saying? Or did he start talking?
I believe he was just caught too red-handed in things. Intelligence, Coast Guard intelligence isn't dirty. They're very clean, very respected group. And this man, for some reason, in all the intelligence meetings, it was one statement made by intelligence was, it's like there's a radio in the room with us. Everything we say, they hear. And it was this captain passing everything on.
Well, give the New World Order time. I'm sure they'll infiltrate the Coast Guard intelligence.
I'm sure that they will.
If they haven't already. You know Terry Reid?
I know Terry Reid well.
Okay. Tell us about your association with Terry Reid.
I met Terry when I was, after I was arrested and thrown in prison, about a year and a half ago. Terry and his attorney, Bob Maloney, came down to Hillsborough County Jail to speak with me to find out what I knew. At that time, they were in the middle of their civil suits, and they were attempting to, I guess, prove out the theft of aircraft by the Enterprise and use of those stolen aircraft by the Contras and by others to either train or to fly long-range missions. Unfortunately, the civil aircraft, civilian aircraft, I didn't keep tail numbers of, only the military aircraft.
Well, now, Terry, you want to explain to the audience who Terry Reid is?
Terry Reid's ex-Air Force intelligence officer, and I believe he was an FBI intelligence officer, an asset that they used on many information gathering missions.
And the CIA, I believe.
Uh-huh. Oh, yeah, simply because of the MENA.
Yeah, and he has admitted to flying drugs in and arms and munitions out, I believe, hasn't he?
I believe that that's true. He has admitted that it was done. He was one of the flight instructors who was training the Contra pilots that were brought down into the Nicaraguan, Honduras area of operations to take over and fly the missions for the American pilots who were actually flying them at the time.
And in the meantime, as is the usual situation or case, he has been a victim of disinformation, and didn't they arrest him also?
They indicted him. The federal government indicted Terry and his wife. Now, that's indicative of the federal government's way of doing business. They won't only indict one, an intelligence officer. They try to discredit everyone involved and try to break up the family. That's what they did with us. And that when I heard Terry's story, I knew that he must have some real good stuff on the government for them to go after him that way.
And Terry lectures, by the way. He has a book out. You remember the name of his book? About compromise?
Clinton, yeah, compromise. Clinton, Bush, and the CIA. He sent me a copy of it, and I have to apologize, Joe. I haven't gotten into it yet, but I will.
Well, I don't know when you're going to have time to do that, Chip. But we'll see.
It's tough.
Time does fly, especially when you're in this business. Okay, folks, we'll be right back. Time for a quick break. That Gunderson Intelligence Report. Wake up, America. Wake up.
A UPI News update. Firefighters are battling a huge blaze of...
And we are back, and my guest today is Gene Chip Tatum, 25-year CIA deep cover agent. Before we get back into talk to Chip, we have a caller on the line, but before I get to D, if it's from Colorado, just let me remind you folks in Las Vegas that the Erwin Rommel School of Law has a seminar on June the 14th and 15th, and it will teach you how to sue or how to defend. If you can't afford an attorney, you better sign up for this and find out how it's done. June 14th, 15th, Las Vegas, Nevada, Erwin Rommel School of Law. Call 702-650-5676 for details. Hi, Dee.
Hi. Great program.
How are you?
Great. How are you?
Well, we're doing great. You from Denver?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a question for Chip?
Yes. I have a question for both of you. Rusty Nelson and Randy Nelson, what is the status of them and Franklin cover-up?
Rusty Nelson is still in jail. They are doing psychiatric examinations of him. John DeCamp appeared before the courts here about 2 weeks ago. In another 30 days, we'll have some more information on the results of those examinations.
Great.
Rusty, as you know, is the photographer, was the photographer on the Nebraska pedophile child kidnapping operation, the Franklin cover-up. That book, by the way, is available for $15 to my P.O. Box 18,259, Las Vegas, Nevada. And he had disappeared for over a period of years, popped up in Portland. He's in jail, and we'll see what happens. But he's critical to the Nebraska case, gives John DeCamp and the investigation, which I've been personally involved in, credibility. You have another question?
Yes, I have a question also. Will you get into General McCaffrey? You were talking about that issue. It'd be great to do that today if you can get into that. But I have a question for both of you. When you are at the expo, how do you order? Do they have videos there? Because I won't be able to attend at the expo, but I will order a video if they have a video, and I'm sending friends there also.
In Orlando?
Yes.
What kind of a video? You want some of these, any particular videos?
Well, I don't know if they're going to video you there.
Oh, a video
both of
us?
you?
Yeah, yes, okay.
For both of you?
I will, I'm sure we will be on video. Chip's going to help me with my lecture Saturday morning at 11 o'clock.
Great.
And I will get that information for you on the break at the top of the hour, and I'll come in on the next hour and give you that data.
Great.
As to where you can call for a video of our show, of our lecture.
Okay, and I've heard information on Terry Reed and Stu Webb, both of those people, about disinformation about their kooks, and I know this is part of the disinformation. How do you feel about them? I think that they're totally credible. You're talking about Terry Reid.
Yeah, I think they're credible. Don't you, Chip?
On Terry's side, there's no doubt that Terry's credible. Stu brings in a lot of information. I know that Stu knows his business when it comes to banking. Beyond that, on the investigative side, I have no comment on. But on the banking side and on Colorado, Stu's right on top of it.
Yes, he's very knowledgeable there, and he can pop that information right out without even batting an eye. And no notes or anything else. He's got it well down.
And Chip, when did Abrego disappear? He was a Mexican pilot, and he's no longer in the federal prison system. Has that been recent?
Mr. Abrego came out with the information that he had tapes of the, I think it's tapes of White House involvement, and within a week he was out of the federal system and no longer available.
Do you know about what time that was, month or year?
March, I believe, of 1997.
Oh, that's recent. Okay, and my last question, I appreciate both of you, and my last question, Chip, could you talk about prison life, what it was like from the time that you were arrested, how you were treated? Did you have to do diesel therapy or anything like that? What was your normal day like?
I should sure.
And I think that's important because a lot of people could be potentially set up when we have the USA Today article stating what a terrorist is by Morris Dees, and that includes all churches and anyone standing in the way of the New World Order. That includes a lot of people. And so I'd appreciate what it's like when you were in a federal prison, what your typical day was like. And I'll hang up and listen. Thank you.
Okay, Dee, thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
Right. Let's see. We have about 5 items we have to discuss there, don't we, Chip?
Yeah.
Well, let's start with McCaffrey. You want to explain who McCaffrey?
I'll leave General McCaffrey to you if you would.
Okay, General McCaffrey was the general. I think he was in charge. He was the Air Force, wasn't he, Chip? Was the Air Force?
I don't think so.
Oh, he's Army?
Well, I'm not sure who General McCaffrey is.
Oh, General McCaffrey's the drug czar.
Uh-huh.
It's now the drug czar. And one time he was, I thought he was Air Force, but if he wasn't, he was Army or Air Force.
I believe General McCaffrey, the drug czar, was Army.
Was Army, right, okay. He was Army, and at one time he was in charge of Central America or South America, I think Central America. And he retired and was chosen by Clinton to be the drug czar. And I have inside information about when he was the general that he was involved in a few matters, but I only have it from one source. Do you have any information on that, Jeff?
None whatsoever on McCaffrey.
Okay.
Having not been involved with the military really since 1986,
Well, the information that I have been told is not confirmed. I don't want to put something out that's not confirmed that I'm not comfortable with, but it's not favorable, okay? As far as Rusty Nelson, I've already handled that. You want to talk about prison life, Chip?
Prison life and conspiracy laws and the anti-terrorism laws are all three very difficult items for people, for Americans today to have to deal with. I think I've probably dealt with prison life much better than many people who were around me simply because as an ex-prisoner, prison life to me, even in their maximum security system, was like kindergarten. It was difficult in that there were long days, regardless of what went on. Anything that I did, I was chained. I was chained around the waist. I was chained in the arms, the wrists. My ankles were chained. We were herded. I was herded around the country. Especially me, I was moved around the country for months, incommunicado, not being able to contact any family members. When I would get sick, they would state that I would see a doctor. Well, it could be days before I would see a doctor, and with a bad cold that would turn into pneumonia. On one occasion, I almost bought the farm, is what one of the PAs told me when she finally saw me.
What's a PA?
Physician's assistant. That's primarily who you see. You don't see doctors in prison. On rare occasions, you'll see a doctor. But if you're very sick, it could take a week to 2 weeks before you actually see a doctor, rather than a person that works in the public health department, for public health.
Well, let's face it, they don't want people like you to be alive anyway. So if you die in prison, that's wonderful as far as they're concerned.
Well, they had to take some special precautions with me because they didn't want me to die. They wanted me to be as miserable as possible. And when you look at the anti-terrorism laws, intimidation and coercion, and that's what they were trying to do, intimidate and coerce me into giving them all the documents and tapes that I have tucked away. And that's their prime, definition of terrorism in the anti-terrorism laws. So you have to wonder who the real terrorists are in the world. I know what I did for a living for the government would fall under terrorism. There was no doubt the OSGs were international terrorists working for the President of the United States.
Oh, I think it was bigger than that, wasn't it, Chip? Working for the international...
Oh, yeah, for international groups. But the American-based officers all answered to the President. That was our ultimate responsibility. If we wanted an executive order to go forward with a neutralization, that executive order was no good to us if it came from Maggie Thatcher or it came from another entity. It had to come from the President.
Were you talking about George Bush when he was the President or when he was Vice President?
Both.
Okay.
From the executive office.
Be right back, folks. Ted Gunderson Intelligence Report. Wake up, America.
Okay, folks, that's it for this edition of the Pegasus File. Join us next week. Same time, same place, right here on VTNradio.com. You can also now buy from our bookstore. We have the Tatum Chronicles and Operation Red Rock available at our bookstore at VTNradio.com. Both books are available in both ebook and hard copy. Soon, we hope, to be a movie and a TV series. That's VTNradio.com. Check the bookstore. Thank you. See you next week, 7 p.m., right here on VTNradio.com. Every Wednesday, 7 p.m., folks. See you then.